I've been doing a lot of classes in my local libraries for people that want to learn about these different appliances that they can use in their kitchen. So one of the hot topics right now is electric pressure cookers. And so we're going to do a demonstration for you guys today, tell you about the different models, functions, safety features, and cook some really good recipes. And I've got Chris Henson here to help me.
Hi, welcome. My name is Christopher Henson. I teach nutrition at UACCM in Morrilton. And I'm delighted to have Miss Moody invite me in here to talk about some of the nutrition concepts and what we're doing with the foods as far as the saute functions, the egg cooker, and then slow cooking, so you guys can hopefully take our mistakes or our experiences back to your home so that you can cook dinner for your family. So Emily, we have brought several different options here, models of different electric pressure cookers, and I'm sure at home that can be an indecisive decision, right? I'm going to spend a little bit of money with one of these electric pressure cookers, but which one do I get? And I think it really this is an opportunity for you to share some of these different models that we have and some of the different functions. And I'll let you take it from here.
Well, to answer your question, the one on the clearance aisle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's always a good option. So yeah, we have a different set of electric pressure cookers here. And so we're just gonna kind of go through some different features. We start over here with the different sizes. So this is a little 3-quart one. You see it has the actual buttons on it that tell us what we're doing. So the ones I use the most are Sautéing, and it kicks on for 30 minutes, and then it will automatically turn off after 30 minutes. You can adjust it with the plus and minus to make it go more. I've very rarely actually sauteed anything for more than 30 minutes. So that's one I use the most. And then I also use the pressure cook feature down here. You know, pressure cook and saute pretty much get you just about everything you need.
Yeah, one's the beginning and the other one's the end, if you will, sometimes. Sure.
People get really tied up with how many features does it have. If I get the one that has 10 features on it, it's more expensive than the one with just 4 features. And so, you know, this one has a lot of what we call presets, but they're not really necessary. Like I said, it's got saute, pressure cook, and then the other one that a lot of people use sometimes is the slow cooker one. So it'll double as a slow cooker. So that's pretty neat if you're tight on space in your kitchen and you don't want to have an extra slow cooker. I will say with the 3-quart one though, it's a little bit small for things that you're going to slow cook unless it's for a small family. So, but like with this one though, it's a 6-quart one, so it's a little bit bigger. It has a digital screen, so I think
noticed that.
Yeah.
Yep, for all those techie people out there, I was playing with this one also, and it is pretty neat.
Yeah, it's a touch screen, and so one thing I learned with this one, you have to actually push the start button to get it to light up. And then from there, you can select your different functions. And so, again, we've got like keep warm. You've even got delayed start on some of them, so you can turn it on and say, well, don't start it for 30 more minutes. I don't really use that function. The electric pressure cookers are so fast that you can come home from work and set a whole pot roast in it and it'll be done in less than 2 hours.
We've got a great recipe. It's only going to take us 20 minutes.
Yeah,
so I can only imagine if you had and add an extra 40 minutes to that, what the possibilities are really endless. Yeah. Even for those pieces of meats that might be more tender than more tough. Then you can throw these in here.
It gets tender, falls apart. It's really good. So, yeah, this is just a different model that has that touch screen on it. Another thing, that I want to point out, the lids look a little bit different. So on this one, this is a little bit fancier, fashion kind of pressure cooker. And so it has a little switch here for your vent and seal, and we'll talk about those. But it doesn't have a big area on it, whereas this one here, it's all kind of lifted up. It looks a little different. It's all right on top of each other. So your buttons can kind of be in a little different spot. They all do have a lot of safety features now. I hear from a lot of people that they're scared to use these because they remember grandma's pressure cooker on the stove blowing up and everything. And we do have to be safe with these. There's a lot of safety protocols we need to follow. However, this is not grandma's pressure cooker. Right. This is electric pressure cooker. So if you notice, when you sit it down, it'll beep. and then when you turn it, it beeps again. And so that shows you that it's locked in. With this one, I thought it was kind of neat. When you sit it down, it's on, and then when you turn it, it goes back. So it says, it actually tells you that it's open. So that was kind of neat. One thing, when I put these lids on, so because they're turned on, they're kind of getting a little bit warm, and so you don't want to sit the lid on it. You know, another feature, this model has these handles. This model has this nifty deal here where you can just sit your pot there. So some of them have that. This model does not have that. The model down here on the end does. You know, some different functions on this one. We noticed here, it has all these different functions. There's 9 functions, but to get this one to start up, you hit start, and then over here in the menu button, you actually have to keep hitting it to toggle through to the corresponding number. So that's kind of a different feature with that model. And then this one on the end, it's pretty similar to this one, but I noticed it actually has those little 1 through 4 buttons for favorites. So the big thing with these electric pressure cookers, we've got all these different models here. You really want to make sure you read your manufacturer book that comes with it. Right. You know, all the different buttons, they all primarily do the same thing, but they may say something a little bit different. Like we noticed on this one, this is the one we're gonna cook a recipe in here in a little bit. It says brown/sear, and we thought, oh man, it doesn't have a saute feature on it. Well, brown/sear, that's saute. So we noticed on this one it said brown/saute. This one just says saute. So it's all that means the same. So
your owner's manual should help you with that. Just when you decide to purchase one, just read your owner's manual first so that you know what the functions actually do.
So we've kind of talked about the sizes and the different function buttons on it, but some other features you might have on this one. You know, we talked about how this has the button that does vent and seal. So that one has what I call it a toggle. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but yeah, you have to actually manually flip that to vent and seal. And some people don't like that. It scares them. It's weighted. So this actually pops off to clean. It comes off really easy, but it's weighted. And so it lifts it up or it lets it sink down because of the weight. And so that's how you depressurize it. Okay. The other ones we have here have this sliding switch on them. And so there's a lot of different ones. Another thing that is different on some of these models is the seal in here. So this one, we realized the seal actually has these little notches in it. So you do have to pull this out when you clean it, but it has little holes in here that you get to just slip it back in there. It comes out to clean it. Whereas this one has like a metal ring in it, and you actually have to remove the seal. I have a lot of different seals at my house that I can switch out, so I can throw them in the dishwasher. They're silicone, they're really easy to wash. You know, some people have different colored seals. I have a red one and a blue one at home, so if you're cooking something like a dessert that's really sweet, you might not want to use the silicone ring that you use to cook your pot roast, or you might not want to use the one that you use to cook boiled eggs in, because I run mine through the dishwasher hot so they don't hang on to those flavors, but there's a lot of people that switch those out. But they do all primarily come apart the same way. It's really important to make sure we're cleaning these properly. So they all have the little weight on them, and that pops off. So you want to make sure to take that off and wash it. And then down here on the bottom, I just take my thumb and I push, and it pops off. So you want to take that off and clean it good. All around in here needs to be cleaned really well. And then on this part, you got to put your finger on the back side so it's raised up. Yeah, so that doesn't happen. Yeah. You take the little plastic piece off. That's another piece you'll want to clean. And then this will just fall out the bottom. So those are all little pieces that steam comes up through. It could get clogged. Sometimes if you're doing like a starchier food. potatoes. I've had noodles that the starch has come out of it, and so it's just important that you clean that really good when you're doing that. And then of course you take the ring out, clean this really good. Make sure you're looking again at your manufacturer's instructions. There's a lot of people that will say you can or can't put it in the dishwasher. I personally don't put my lid in the dishwasher. I just don't see it as being necessary. So I just take it apart, wash it really good with hot soap and water, and then I just store it. Now the pot, you know, again, some people put them in the dishwasher, but it's important to just refer to that manufacturer direction. Now when you're done with it, one thing that a lot of people don't know, and this goes back to grandma's pressure cooker too, but if you store it with the lid closed tight, it will put pressure on that seal, and it can make it wear out faster. So when you store those, it's good to store them upside down like that. A lot of them, some of them at least, have removable cords. So you can pop the cord out, roll the cord up in there, and then put this on top. So that's really nice. Most of them also come with little like a rice spatula. This is a measuring cup. I've always called it the rice cup, but they all come with one. It's just a little measuring cup. And then they also have a condensation collector on the back. So like this one, it just pops off the back here. It collects that condensation. I very rarely have much condensation gather in mine, but sometimes you do. So it's important to make sure we take that off and clean it every time. I've found that that's something people miss a lot. They don't clean that good. So you want to clean that. And then we've got all this stuff sitting out here.
I noticed that. We talked about a couple different recipes and sauteing and different modes using these models, but we have some.
What is this stuff?
Well, it looks like you put eggs in it, so I imagine that's what it is. But you can do a whole dozen, more than a dozen, I believe, of eggs inside of the electric pressure cooker. And what are these for?
Okay, so you can get these online. You can get them at Walmart. You can get them at grocery stores. There's all sorts of places. Doesn't matter where you get them. There's different brands and everything. So these are just some. I believe I ordered these in a kit, actually. I think it came with these two and maybe an egg rack. So this is just a pan. It's going to be safe to put in the electric pressure cooker. And so, for example, you could put something in your pressure cooker on the bottom. Then you could take this trivet and sit it down, and then this can sit on top here, and you can cook something separate. So it makes it where you can separate two items. So maybe you're cooking potatoes on bottom, and then I don't know, broccoli on top. I haven't actually done that, but it makes it where your stuff is separated and it's not combining together. So this is a cool little kit that it came with.
That's what this does too. For those that like their food separated, you can cook it separately at home also.
That one's cool too, because this part actually comes out, and then that is like a false bottom, so it actually pops out as well. And so you could do like a cake in it, or kind of, it's not a spring form pan, but it's something where if you had a cake or a bread or something like that, you would cook it in here, and then you could turn it upside down and you just pop that bottom out. It comes out nice and pretty. So these are just some little bowls. Like I said, I believe those came in a kit with this one. So you're right, this holds eggs primarily, but again, it holds those little bowls. This one, you know, you put this one in the bottom. We're going to show this later when we cook eggs, but sit that on bottom, sit this in here like this, and then that makes it where you pull your top layer of eggs out, and then you pull your second layer of eggs out. Right. We also have some stuff, you know, we talked about cooking a pot roast or a chicken. I even heard people cook ribs in the electric pressure cooker. So
using this or just cooking ribs?
Well, just in general. So we had this from a colleague that she said she likes to put a whole chicken on this, and then that way she can just put it down in the pot and then lift it right out. So that's really neat. That's nifty. It's got little slits in the bottom, and again, this is just silicone, so it doesn't have to be any particular brand. You can just, you know, get it wherever it's on sale. And I'm noticing too,
as long as it fits as long as it fits the quart.
Yeah. So it even fastens together up here. So, but yeah, this one, I mean, it's not going to fit in your 3-quart one, but it fits down in that 6-quart. And so it's pretty nifty. And then I believe it might have come separate, but this is another just little egg trivet. But again, you don't have to use it for eggs. You can put a roast on it, however you want to do it, and then you're able to just lift it right out. So that's really nice. Or you can put, one of these little dishes on it.
Oh, underneath it.
Yeah,
sure.
and just be able to lift it. So it's really nice. They also, a lot of them come with a little trivet. I believe this one has a little trivet inside. Yeah, so a lot of them come with a little trivet. Some of them have legs on them. Some of them collapse and fold down. And that's just the trivet that comes with it. You can use it. You can order other ones. This is kind of neat because the cup fits in it. Yeah. Some other little things we have here that I've found useful when I'm cooking. I love these little tongs. I get them at like the dollar shop. You can get them for $1 or so, and they're silicone on the end. The ends come off so you can wash them really good. They're really great for getting the eggs out or just anything little. And then I love just rubber silicone spatulas.
Those are high heat though, correct?
They're high heat safe. I got these in a kit that came with spoons and ladles and all that stuff, and they all match. But I use these so much in my kitchen. We'll see when we saute, but some of these inner pots are just metal, whereas some of them, like this one, has a non-scratch coating on it. And so you don't want to use a metal spoon on that. You don't want to use something that's going to scratch it. So something silicone, rubber, it's really great. These are really great. It comes with the pot for cooking. However, they don't really get down to the bottom. They're more for serving.
A lot of great information, Emily, you shared with us. Different models that we have of these electric pressure cookers. We're going to get into a couple of the functions ourselves here today. A lot of accessories. I didn't even know that these were available, so I think that makes it even more interesting and just a little bit of, in a sense, an investment into what you're going to be doing at home. So stick around for a little bit. We're going to get into some sauteing vegetables here in just a second, along with boiling some eggs and then some taco ranch chicken rice.
Yeah, so for sauteing, we don't need the lid, so we can just set the lid to the side. So we mentioned earlier that some of the pots are metal and some are non-stick. So with this inner pot, it is Teflon. It's a non-stick surface. So we want to make sure that we're using that rubber spatula or non-scratch.
Right.
Yeah,
yep.
no metal. You don't want to scratch that pot up. You can just leave it right in there. So what we're going to start with is sauteing these vegetables for our rice, our recipe that we're going to be doing. So this electric pressure cooker was kind of neat. We were mentioning earlier how a lot of the functions you use is just saute, pressure cook, all that. And so this is one where the functions on the front are worded a little bit different. So for sauteing our vegetables, to get started with this recipe, with this model, it's already on, and so you got to hit the menu button here to scroll through the different settings. And so down here it says brown/sear. I mean, that threw me off at first because I thought, where's the saute function? But it's all in this little user manual. And so sear, brown/sear means saute. So all we've got to do is hit the menu button, and it's number 9. So we have to scroll through here all the way to number 9. And then all we have to do is hit start. And so now it's going to heat up just like a pot on your stove. You've turned this into a skillet, essentially. And so I don't know about you, but I don't like doing dishes at my house.
Well, it's therapeutic for me, so it doesn't mind. But
they just pile up. And so I don't know. I like to use as little dishes as possible. If I can do a 1-pot meal, man, that's great. So that's what we're going to do with this saute feature. There's tons of recipes out there that you have to saute your vegetables first. And so with this recipe, we're going to be putting some garlic, onions, some different colored peppers. It'll make it look really nice. And so to start out with that, you said we're going to start with some oil. We don't want it to stick.
A couple tablespoons of vegetable, actually it's avocado oil, to just season the bottom of the pan, especially with the garlic. It's usually the first thing that I start with at home, is get the garlic going along with the oil or the butter that we're using, but we're using oil here. Let that heat up, and those aromas will start to hopefully reach your houses from here. We'll start smelling good. I'd imagine we'll get a few knocks on the door since we are in the studio. So we'll keep adding these, just a pepper medley, a red, green, and a yellow pepper. Added a Vidalia onion. Those typically have a little bit sweeter flavor to them. And the green and bell peppers are just good sources of vitamins. And the best part about using one pot here, doing our sauteing, and I've got some salt and some other seasonings we'll add here in just a second, but allowing those flavors to cook down and using the same pot when we add our stock and our rice, we didn't lose any of it.
Yeah.
So it's still stuck in that pot, and the rice will absorb it, the flavors, and it'll be a much better product at the end of the day, and you have less dishes to wash.
One common question I get, there's a lot of recipes that say deglaze, and they say, well, what does that mean? And it's just that. So when we saute everything, you get all the flavor in there, especially if your recipe has something like, saute some sausage or something like that. You don't want to lose that flavor. And so what deglaze means is you're pouring your liquid in. So I love to use a broth or a stock for added flavor, but if it's water, your pot's really hot still, you're pouring that liquid in there, and it helps get all that seasonings that are stuck to the pot. It just gets them off the bottom and blends them in for that flavor, so you're not losing anything.
Especially the brown and sear function that we have, probably comparable to the saute function. But you see chefs do that all the time, where they season their meats and then they brown and sear, leaving some of that behind. And then, like you said, they'll throw their garlic and their onions and celery or carrots, and then deglaze it with sometimes a wine. A lot of times we like to promote chicken stock because it just adds more flavor than just using regular water.
I use a lot of bone broth at home too.
Yeah.
I love a bone broth. One thing I will say about the saute feature though, sometimes your recipe, you might be using ground beef or ground pork or something that's putting off a lot more grease or excess fluid. And so in that case, I would take some pot holders, and this pot does get hot all the way around, but I would take some pot holders and I would drain that excess liquid off. But after you drain that grease off, then you can still deglaze it. No need to rinse it or anything like that. So that would be the only time that I really drain things, if there's excess fat and grease in there that you don't want to end up sitting on top of your recipe.
Absolutely, yeah. It adds flavor, but you really don't need to consume all that saturated fat.
Yeah. So how long do you saute these for?
Well, because we're going to add them to the other ingredients and they're going to pressure cook for a little while, I'm just going to add a little bit of salt here. Not very much, maybe a teaspoon,
okay.
Teaspoon and a half. We're really just going to saute these just for a little bit, 4 or 5 minutes, just to start breaking down those components of the vegetables and the flavors and those extra vitamins in there from all those bright colors. So just a couple more minutes, and then we'll start adding our other ingredients to it. Because they're going to pressure cook, we don't want to overcook these. You could do that pretty easily by doing this first and then pressure cooking second, but we want to keep all those flavors in there.
So Chris, what you're telling me is when I'm at home and I make a recipe like this, my husband doesn't like his vegetables and onions to crunch. So you mean I don't have to put them in the microwave and steam them before I saute them to soften them up?
Absolutely not.
Okay,
no,
so because we're sauteing it, and then when it pressure cooks, it's going to soften them up enough that he's not going to get any crunch.
He shouldn't.
Okay.
Not unless there's something in there that
Good.
shouldn't be.
Well, that saves me a whole step of cooking, because it's a texture thing at my house.
And I can understand that. Hopefully, if you want to cook these down to tender and then add some crunch later, we've got some fresh tomatoes and some avocados that we can dress this up once we get the final product before we taste it here in the studio.
Cool. I love it. So I like that, about the electric pressure cookers. It does soften stuff up, but, there's still crunchy items you can put in there. So there's still a lot of texture in it. We got the vegetables. We're going to have some rice and chicken, some beans. So there's a lot of added texture. So Yeah, so that's cooking down really nice. It looks, it's very colorful. It looks great.
Show that for the camera.
Yeah.
We'll pick some up, but still keeping the colors. We definitely don't want them turning gray on us. But we're right at where we need to be. We've been sauteing these for several minutes now, so we can go ahead and start adding our other ingredients. The recipe list doesn't call for very many ingredients, and I like that because it allows for consumers at home to really play with a few ingredients, but I think is important. So we got our chicken broth here. I believe it's a cup and a quarter of chicken broth. And then we have long grain brown rice.
The sizzle stopped. It immediately, stopped cooking it.
But we can still smell the aroma.
Yes.
It's very good. The garlic and the onions and peppers mix well. A cup of long grain brown rice. I'm just going to stick that in there. We have a pound, I believe a pound and a half of trimmed chicken breasts, no skin on, no bone. I did that so that I cut those up to make it a little bit easier for this to disperse the flavors. 2 tablespoons of taco seasoning. Don't overthink that. It's just plain old taco seasoning. I think most of us probably enjoy that. And a tablespoon of ranch. Again, we keep this at home. You can buy the packages if you want to, but
so it's like the ranch dip packages that you get, or sometimes they come in a container, just any old ranch powder.
Yeah.
No, wait a second, Chris. I got a question for you. So we talked about that deglazing. So since we poured that chicken broth in there, are you gonna like stir it up right now to get it all the good bits off the bottom?
We're definitely going to stir it. Get those flavors all mingled in with the rice and the chicken. Because what we're about to do is we're about to exit the saute function and enter into the electric pressure cooker.
Awesome. All right, so we got all that stirred together. It looks really good. One thing that people ask about too is the amount of liquid in their pot. So there's a lot of charts you can find online for ratios of liquid, but every model has a user manual. So you want to make sure you get that minimum amount of liquid. So I believe for most pots, the minimum is a cup.
That's what I've read.
Yeah, and so we use chicken broth for that liquid, and so that's great. But any recipes you're using, just keep that in mind because you don't want it to stick at the bottom. Some of the models say something like burn notice on it if it starts sticking on the bottom. So, but we've got plenty of liquid in here, and we've stirred it up really good so that there's plenty of liquid going under it on the bottom. And so our next step is to pressure cook it. So we're gonna take that lid first thing, and we'll put it on. And you hear the beep, which is great. Again, that's another safety feature that makes it not like grandma's pressure cooker.
Yep.
You know it's locked in. It's not gonna come to pressure. It's not gonna start unless it's locked in. So the first thing we wanna do is over here, so we talked about the different models. So this is one where it switches back and forth. The weight, you have to turn it. So there's a little symbol on here that looks like a puff of steam. And then there's another symbol that shows like a block. And so that is called venting and sealing. So we don't want it to vent because we want it to come to pressure. So we're going to turn this over to sealing. You can feel that weight just kind of drop down. And so that's going to allow it to come to pressure. So that's my #1 mistake at home. I'll forget to seal it, or I'll forget to put the ring in it, the silicone ring that we talked about earlier. And then I got to start over. So it won't ever come to pressure. So we've got this sealed. And so the next thing that we want to do is set it to cook. And so how long did you say this one's going to cook for?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, so something neat about this model that we noticed is we talked about how your basic functions you use are saute or pressure cook. So we noticed with this model that it doesn't say pressure cook on it. So what did we do?
We played with it, and we went back to the user manual and said, that first one up there says no pressure.
Yep. So this manual has a chart in it. So we were just referred back to our manual. It has a little chart in it. So function 1 on this one is slow cooker.
Slow cook.
So slow cook doesn't add pressure. It works just like your standard slow cooker at home. And so all the functions after that, though, said that they do come to pressure, except for the very end one that we just finished using, the saute function. It does not come to pressure. So what we found in here is that all of these functions come to 239 degrees except for the rice function. It comes a little bit higher to 248. To be honest, I don't think that's going to make a huge difference in this particular recipe. But that being said, you really want to make sure you're referencing your user manual. So what we learned from the user manual here is there's not just a simple pressure cook button, but all of these functions do pressure cook. And then you're just able to set the time for whatever time your particular recipe calls for. So don't let that intimidate you. If you get a different model than your friend or your mom or someone, it doesn't look the same. It's okay. Your user manual is going to tell you what you need to do. So with this particular one, with it cooking for 20 minutes, so what we're going to do is we've got it. It's actually still on saute, so we didn't hit stop, which is fine. But we're going to go ahead and hit menu here, and it pops up number 1. So we keep hitting the menu button until we get one that is pressure cooked. So, you know, I could have stopped it at number 2. Number 2 says that it's a soup/stew. But when I hit timed cook here, it presets it to 35 minutes. But I can use this down symbol, this negative symbol, and I can turn those minutes down to just 20 minutes. And then all I have to do is hit start. So it just, like I said, it doesn't matter which function on this particular model that you use, as long as you do that time cook button and set your time accurately. So, you know, when we're cooking in the pressure cooker, we want to make sure to go over some safety features. So there's a petcock here, and right now it's dropped down, which means it's not under pressure. So when it comes to pressure, it's going to lift up a little bit. And this one's actually red, which I think is neat. The other ones are silver.
They are.
Yeah, so it's not under pressure now, but a lot of people say, well, I'm cooking and I need to use my island, so I can just pick this up and move it. Don't do that. It is under pressure. So we talked about how it's got a lot of safety features, but you also need to follow your manufacturer guidelines. Right. And so once you turn this on and get it set, you don't want to move it anywhere. You know, some things I do at my house, I have cabinets overhead my counters, and people worry about that steam when we vent it coming up and hitting their cabinets. Well, I turn mine sideways on the counter so that vent is not hitting my cabinets. Right. I do that before I get started, because once it's started, you're not supposed to pick it up and move it. And so, you know, some other things, when we finish this recipe, we're gonna show you guys how to properly vent it, and some different tips and tricks with that, and some things that you shouldn't do. But for right now, you know, when we talk about how long it takes with some of these recipes, one thing that people see, oh, it only cooks for 20 minutes. Well, that is true. However, we're using an electric pressure cooker, so it has to come to pressure. So this will start counting 20 minutes once it comes to pressure. So depending on what you're cooking, how much
volume.
Yeah, how much volume you have in the pot will make a difference in how long it takes to come to pressure. And so it will take a little bit of time to come to pressure. Once it comes to pressure, then it'll cook for 20 minutes. And then we have some different release options, manual release or natural release. And so we'll talk about those when we come back. We're going to let this cook for a while, and I think it's going to turn out really good. It already smells great.
It does smell great. And I do think it's important that we spend some time just making sure that when we release the pressure and the steam that you're not putting yourself at risk at home or your children, especially if you're using these popular devices in your kitchens. So.
Absolutely. So we'll go over a lot of that when this recipe is finished and we're ready to take it out of the pot.
Well, Emily, we've talked about different models. We talked about a saute option. We talked about a pressure cooking option, but what we haven't talked about is, how do I cook this? An egg, right? It does all these things. So let's go over how we would use a pressure cooker to cook eggs.
Okay, so eggs are one of my favorite things to cook at home with the electric pressure cooker. You can put a whole lot. I mean, we could fill up both of these racks in here. You could get, 2 2 dozen eggs in some of them, depending on what trivet you buy. So it's just a really easy way. I mean, boiled eggs make a great breakfast. Sure. They are great on a salad, just some extra protein to add in, easy protein. So, you know, you can boil them all up and then store them in the fridge for a while. And so this is a super simple way. So there's a method that people might have heard. It's a popular one, but they call it the 5-5-5 method.
Okay, what's that?
So 5-5-5 means you set it to cook for 5 minutes. After it comes to pressure and cooks for 5 minutes, then you let it natural release for 5 minutes. And then you pull them all out and you put them in an ice bath for 5 minutes. And they peel perfect.
Okay, well.
So
how do we get this started?
It's super simple. So, you know, we take the lid off. We've got our pot ready to go. This one has the nice little handle feature on it. So we did get our ring in there. Okay. We've got all of our stuff set up. So this recipe, or the way you do this, you have a 1.5 cups of water. So that's kind of the minimum amount. So you just pour that down in the bottom, easy. And then for this, we're just gonna do 8 eggs. You could do more than that. So we're just gonna use this little trivet. You know, earlier we talked about this silicone one that you could load your eggs up on and just sit it down in there. But for this, we're gonna show you guys this one. So it has little feet on the bottom. And so I like to go ahead and put this down in the pot. That way the pot's not hot yet. I don't have to worry about the eggs rolling off. And then I have little tongs for taking them out, but for this purpose, I like to sit them upright. You know, I don't know. I like to have them all the same.
The tempered in top?
Yeah, okay. Or, I mean, you could do it opposite, but I sit them all the same direction so they all cook the same. But basically, we're just gonna sit them in here, however you sit them in the little holes. And so, yeah, I like to put it in there and get it started, or you can do it like this, and you've got the little handles where you just pick it up and you're able to sit it right down in there. And those little feet slide in together. So it fits in there perfect. Again, if we were doing more eggs, you could have a whole layer on the bottom, a whole layer on the top, and then you've got, you know, your week's worth of breakfast or
Thanksgiving deviled eggs.
Yeah, your lunch salad. You know, it's a great option for meal prepping, basically.
Sure. Okay, very good.
So it's as easy as that. It's eggs and water. And so we're just gonna take the lid here and go ahead and put it on, get it set. And again, safety feature, it beeps. We already talked about that minimum amount of water, so we got that. So we wanna turn it. And then we're gonna make sure, so this one is a little different. It has the switch on it. And so we're gonna make sure that it's sealed because we want it to come to pressure. And this model, unlike the model we referred to earlier, it actually has a pressure cook function. And so we're just gonna come up here and we're going to hit pressure cook. And it's set for 4 minutes, but we, talked about that set for 40 minutes. We talked about that 5-5-5 method. So we're just gonna use our minus and go all the way down to 5 here. And this is just your general pressure cooker function. So put in 5 minutes. You don't even have to hit a start button on this. It starts up, yeah. And on this model, it's gonna display on here. It just says on, and it says high pressure. That's just automatically what the pressure cooker setting does. And so when it comes to pressure, you'll see this part raise up, and that'll signify that it's under pressure. And then it'll pop up 5 minutes, and you'll watch it cook for 5 minutes. And then so, at the end, we're gonna do what's called a natural release for 5 minutes, and then we're gonna do a quick release. And so a really common question we get is, what does that mean? What's a quick release? What's a natural release? So you'll see on a lot of recipes, it might say natural release until it comes down for pressure. And so if that's the case, it could take 30 minutes for it to natural release and come down. But if you're cooking another recipe where you want it to stop cooking, then we do what's called a quick release. And so we'll show everyone how to do that quick release, but it'll give you a set amount of time for that quick release. So for this, we're gonna let it natural release for 5 minutes, and then we're gonna do a quick release by
the end of it.
Yeah, by pushing that button, and then it's gonna make it depressurize. So eggs, super simple. Just throw it in there, set it for 5 minutes. It, again, has to come to pressure, so that's gonna take a little bit of time, but it's quick and easy.
Yep, quick and easy. Snacks, you can add them to salads. I mean, you can make an egg salad sandwich if you wanted to. Put it all together. I think this is a great option, especially showing the viewers at home with something, eggs.
Yeah. And you'll see at the end, you know, we're gonna put it in the ice bath at the end, and we'll break one open and show you guys, but they're perfect. They come out that nice yellow. They peel so easy. It's, like I said, it's just my favorite method to use. It's just easy. They come out great.
Well, we are at the end of these demonstrations, right? We've got eggs over here. We got this taco ranch chicken rice, but we're going to start with the eggs first.
Yes, they've all got finished at the same time. So this is the part that scares people sometimes. It's venting, and so we're going to vent this one, and we'll kind of talk about the safety stuff when we get over to that one. But this one just has a toggle switch, so you just want to make sure on this one, my switch is on this side, and obviously my face is on this side. So you want to make sure you're staying back. You don't want that steam to come up and hit you. So it's just real simple. These have been cooking. They cooked 5 minutes. They released 5 minutes. And so now, or they natural released for 5 minutes. So now we're going to quick release them. So just like this.
That's very hot. Steam,
if
water.
you noticed the face I made, it actually squirted out just a little bit of water, and it hit my arm, and it just kind of, it didn't burn me. It just kind of made me jump. So
it's warm.
It wasn't under just a ton of pressure. So you just want to make sure that it comes down from pressure, and that little notch, it dropped. Okay. So now that it's dropped down, we're able to open it. So if it were still under pressure, it would not open. So we're open now. We can take the lid off, and it kind of gets a little stiff. I'm gonna just sit that to the side there so we're not burning anything. And then I use these tongs. I love these little tiny tongs. And we're gonna put them straight into this ice bath. So all we did here is a bowl of water with some ice. And what this does, it makes them stop cooking. So we want them to cool down quick. We want them to be done. We don't want them to overcook. And so I've got a second pair of tongs here. I don't like using oven mitts to do this part. So I just grab these edges here, pull this out, and sit it down so I can get my second layer. And like I said, that's just a preference. I think they're kind of hard to grab onto with oven mitts. So now that that's in that water bath, it's just going to sit there for 5 minutes to stop that cooking. And you know, we call it the 5-5-5 method, but if they sit in the water bath for a little more than 5 minutes, not a big deal. After 5 minutes, they're ready to peel, and you can eat them now, eat them later, put them in the fridge.
We're definitely going to show you what they look like on the inside, because Emily said they would be perfect. So we're going to hold her to it. Well, now let's talk about this one while we're waiting on those.
Yeah, definitely.
So this one has been going for 20 minutes, and it's still warm to the touch. And I'm going to let you, this one's a little bit different. The vent on the back of it, we let it sit for several minutes. Allow it to naturally release steam, but I can tell that this is going to shoot up in the air, so I'm going to switch. That kind of scared me a little bit.
Just do it all the way. So one thing is, some people get a little scared and they kind of do what you did. They just kind of do it a little bit. Don't be scared of it. Just do one fluid motion, push it all the way to the side so that it does just automatically let it release, and so it doesn't, you know, spurt as much liquid out. This one has a lot more volume in it, so it is releasing a lot more pressure, as you can tell. You know, we natural released for 10 minutes.
Right.
So this recipe did call for a 10-minute natural release and then a quick release. So that's what we just did, is a quick release. You know, one thing I do want to mention as far as safety that we haven't talked about yet, but when we vent these, there are a lot of people that get online or they get on social media and they see all these cute little accessories that you can add.
Submarines, I think, was one
Yeah,
of them.
there's one that it sits on top of the steam. It's called a steam diverter, and it looks like a little submarine that goes around. I've seen ones that look like a dragon, so it's like shooting steam out of its mouth. And you know, they're adorable, but they are absolutely not safe. They are absolutely not recommended. In fact, I would be willing to say that all of the manufacturer guidelines say do not impede the steam coming out. So yeah, so there's these cute little things you can find online called steam diverters. Do not use those. Another thing I've heard people doing is they'll take a dish rag and they'll turn it on and the steam's coming out, so they'll throw that dish rag over. Again, you know, that steam can billow out from underneath that, cause burns. It's just not necessary. And so, like I mentioned earlier, you know, once we get these set, we're not going to move them around. So set it up in a place that you feel comfortable diverting the steam from the get-go. It's just, you know, like I said, if you're worried about your cabinets or anything, then sit it sideways on your counter. But leave it where it's at so that when you are ready to do that release and the steam comes up, you don't have any worries about that steam being able to go any direction but straight up. It's just, that is a big safety thing that I see a lot of, especially on social media. Just because you see it on social media does not mean it's fact. We see a lot of misinformation that can be dangerous. So that's just a big safety thing. And so it has quick release. So now we can go ahead, the pin has dropped, so we can twist that lid and pull it off the top, and then we can just sit it. I kind of let the moisture kind of come off of it, but you can sit it on over to the side, and then it looks really good. So
it does look good. It smells amazing. There's still good color from the peppers that we had in there that we sauteed in earlier. I'm going to hold on and move these forks over. So I'm just going to put some of this on this plate right here. And then I'll garnish it here a little bit with some tomatoes and some avocado.
So we're gonna plate this stuff up, and then we're gonna sample it for everyone, right?
Yes, we are going to sample it. I'm sorry that you didn't follow along with us at home, but we'll tell you how it tastes.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so we're down to the final presentation. It smelled wonderful.
So good.
Very few ingredients again: rice, chicken broth, chicken, taco seasoning, ranch seasoning, black beans. Yeah. Other than the medleys, the onions and peppers that we sauteed prior to, this is the end result here.
I really like this recipe because I feel like you can kind of make it your own. Like, you know, if you only have one color pepper, you can just do that.
Or no peppers at all.
Yeah, or no peppers. Or if, you know, you have black beans, we could probably add a can of corn in it.
I would definitely make it a Santa Fe flair if you want to. Sure, you can go many different directions.
It looks really good.
You ready to sample this?
Yeah, you got lime for us.
I do have lime.
I love avocado. We got some avocado on it. It looks really good.
So, moment of truth. So we're going to try this. I'm going to go ahead and reach over here and grab some of that.
Got to get some avocado with it. Okay. Got a little bit of bean and chicken.
I'm not just saying that because we made it.
I might have to take some of this to go for dinner tonight.
Immediately you get some of those onions and peppers, and then the chicken and the seasonings come right into play with a little bit of hint of lime after that. I mean, obviously that's stuff that you can add at home if you want to. Mix the beans out, another lean source of protein, just trying to expand some of those high-priced proteins like your chickens, but I feel like this is something that you could do even if we were busy. I've got 2 kids that play baseball, and I know you're a busy young mom, and so it's easy to know that you can put together 4 or 5, mix and match those ingredients and have such a great dish that there's no doubt that the whole entire family would enjoy.
This was really good. And you know, speaking of just fast and simple, you know, we took the time to saute those vegetables before, but I mean, they cooked up so nicely, and yeah, it adds flavor, but I mean, this is a recipe where you could definitely just dump all of that in the pot, turn it on, and come back and eat it. I mean, it tastes really good. And all we did is dump it in, and it cooked really fast. I mean, this was just so little prep work. And, you know, you get off at 5 o'clock at night and come home, it's hard to cook a full meal,
It is.
and we've got it all here.
Yep, yep. If you throw some tortillas, if you like to do that as well. So a lot of flexibility that we tried to show how the device works, and then that you guys could use that at home as well. We got the eggs now. We've let them cook for 5 minutes, natural release pressure for 5 minutes, and they've been sitting in an egg bath. And now again, remember for those at home, Emily assured us that these would come out perfectly cooked eggs.
So yeah, they've been sitting in our water bath for 5 minutes. So let's crack it open.
She did say it would be easier to peel them also.
Yeah, I mean, they peel so easy, and I even like at home like peel them, you know, over the water so it's easy, and then I, you know, wash them really good. But yeah, I mean, they just,
That was pretty good, as you can see at home. Very little effort.
God, there's definitely no chunks coming out of it. I know if we've ever, you know, if you ever peeled eggs before, sometimes a big old chunk comes out of it. But no, these are perfect. Now I will say, like, and I'm not sure, I think it's from air bubbles. I wouldn't know, but yeah, sometimes there's little like kind of pock marks, but overall, I mean, it's a very nice egg. And so I'm just gonna slice this one open here.
No way.
It looks really nice. I will say we went probably about 6 minutes before we were able to release them. So they're a little more cooked, but I mean, it looks really good. I mean, it's nice and yellow. It doesn't, you know, it's not overcooked. Like that's a good looking egg.
Yeah, I agree. Emily was right.
I'm so glad.
5-5-5 rule in your electric pressure cooker at home. Turns out a perfect egg.
Yep.
Thanks
Love
for your
it.
help today.
You're welcome. I had a lot of fun. I hope everybody at home learned a lot. You know, just keep in mind, it doesn't matter what model of electric pressure cooker you have. The main thing is you're making simple, easy meals for your family that you can do after work, save more time, save time on dishes. We love that. And so if you have any more questions, you can always find us online. And then keep in mind, we have an extension agent in all of our counties across Arkansas. So please reach out if you ever have any questions about cooking, food safety, anything along those lines. We'd be happy to help you.